Hello, everybody. This is
Hello.
Young Family Tai Chi, traditional form, section 1, and this is the first class. So, in the what we'll start from the very beginning, okay?
Yeah.
So, the very beginning, we have the salute, okay?
Mhm.
The salute is you form a fist. You take your right hand and you close up your fingers and you put your thumb across. Okay. So the striking face is this part. Can you see? You try to make this as flat as possible so that when you hit, you get full contact, right? So try to make this flat. And usually when we refer to the fist, we call this part the fist eye and this part the fist tail. Okay. So when you do the salute, you're going to make a fist and then you're going to cover it with the left hand. And then you put your thumb inside the fist eye. Okay. So when we used to have classes in Seattle, in Redmond, all the classes would open with a greeting from the teacher and then a response from the students. So it used to be you would put your salute and the teacher would say, 同学们好, which is hello students. And the students would respond, 老师好. Okay. But we don't generally do that anymore, but I'm telling you this as a matter of form. Okay. So the thing that is interesting about the salute is you have the fist and you have the paper that covers the fist. So it is in itself the symbol of yin and yang. So the fist is the military side. The paper is the scholar side. The scholar covers the fist. So this is like the sign of civilization, right? When the fist gets covered by the scholar. And the Tai Chi Chuan is based on yin and yang. Okay, so yin and yang has 3 important properties. So if you think of yin as the day and yin as the night and yang as the day. So when you have yin and yang define each other. You cannot have day without night. If it were all day, you wouldn't even have the word day, because why would you have to say anything about day? That's all there is, right? So day and night define each other. Day and night limit each other. So when you keep having day, and then when night comes, it limits the day, right?
Mhm.
And the third thing is that at its limit, yin becomes yang and yang becomes yin. So when the day gets to its limit, it becomes night. And when night gets to its limit, it becomes day. And that principle is repeated in Tai Chi Chuan. And that is why all the movements in Tai Chi Chuan are circular. Okay, so if you have a strike, okay? When you get to the end, you come back. It comes in a circle, okay? And one of the principles in Taiji is that you move continuously without interruption. So that is why it is circular. In other words, if you came and you got to the end and you came back, that is not continuous. The way to make it continuous is with a circle, and it comes back, right? So when you come out, it comes back. So that is one of the basic principles of Tai Chi Chuan. Okay, it's yin and yang, and things are in a circle. And the yang style Tai Chi Chuan is big, which means that you make big circles. So you're going like this, okay? Whereas like in Sun style, it's like this, you know? So it's very small. And different styles have different characteristics, even though they all have the same principles. Okay. So there are 10 essentials that Yang Chengfu delineated, and I will send you a copy. Mm-hmm. And if you adhere to all the principles, then you can do Tai Chi Chuan perfectly. However, it is difficult.
Yeah.
So 4 of the principles have to do with your body shape. Okay. The first has to do with your head. So you want to raise your head. You can think of it 2 ways. One is that if you think of your head like a sunflower, the sunflower always moves toward the sun. It moves up, right? The other way of thinking of it is think of something, a hook at the top of your head pulling you up, okay? If you think of the pulling you up, what happens is that your head is pulled up, but the rest of your body from your neck down hangs down. So think about having a shirt on a hanger. When you hold on to the hook of the hanger, the shirt just kind of droops down, right? So your body from your neck down should be down, okay? Your head should be up. So the first 4 principles, I'll go through it very quickly. The first one is head up. The next one has to do with your, well, let's do the easy ones first. Shoulders down. When your head is up, your shoulders are down. And your elbows are down. So one of the first things we're going to learn is standing practice in order to practice this body shape, okay? So you're going to have your shoulders down and your elbows down. And it's pretty easy to think of that when you're standing. But once you start moving, you often are tempted to get your elbow up or your shoulder up. And what that does is it cocks your body shape. You're no longer aligned, okay? The other part is to round your back and sink your chest. And what that does is it connects your arms to your spine. So here, okay? And the last part, which many people find difficult, is relax the waist. And what that means is that when you're standing, you want to like sit. Feel like there's a little chair there and you're sitting. Okay. So what that does is it tucks your tailbone so that your tailbone is straight. You don't have that curve in your spine anymore. It's straight. And what that does is it allows you to transfer your energy from your feet up your spine. And then when you have this rounded shape with the chest in and back rounded, then your energy can go from your spine out to your fingertips. Okay. So if you want to try to see what does this shape feel like, what you should do is you should put your back against a wall. You have the back of your head against the wall. Try to get your whole back against the wall. And that will give you an idea of what the shape should feel like. Okay. As an experiment, you should try that. Okay. So when you do standing practice, the Chinese call it zhang, is you're standing like a pole. Okay. So here, your head is up, your shoulders and elbows are down, you have a concave chest, rounded back, and your back is straight. Okay, your knees are slightly bent. Your eyes are looking straight. Okay, and that is your body shape. So when you're in the course of the form and you want to figure out, is my alignment good, go back to Zhang, and that will tell you what your body should be like. Okay? So the first stance that you're going to learn, which is in the left ward off, is going to be bow stance. Okay. There are in the first section, you only have bow stance and empty stance. When you get to the second section, you will have one-legged stance. And in the third section, you will have low stance. So for the first section, you only need to learn bow stance and empty stance. Okay. So let's just think of bow stance right now. Okay. Bow stance needs, well, let's start with Zhang. You are standing shoulders width apart. Okay. How do you know shoulders width apart? Shoulders width apart is the outside of your shoulders is the same width as the outside of your feet. That's how you know what shoulders width apart. Okay. And bow stance, you're always shoulders width apart. Empty stance, you are one line, two sides. So if I'm in bow stance, it looks like this. Okay, so I am 1 foot 45 degrees, 1 foot straight. The empty stance is also 1 foot 45 degrees and the other foot straight. But the difference is if I am doing an empty stance, I have my foot you see the heel of my foot is 45 degrees on one side of the line, and the other foot is on the other side of the line. And you see it's one line, two sides. Okay. And it can be a heel touch or it can be a ball touch. Okay. But the main difference is it's one line, two sides for an empty stance. And then it's shoulders width apart for a bow stance. Also, the weight orientation is different. So when you're in a bow stance, you have 60% weight in the front and 40% weight in the back. In the empty stance, what will happen, regardless of whether you're a heel touch or a ball touch, it's going to be 70 in the back and only 30% in the front. But you must make sure you get that 30% in the front, because that 30% is a supporting feature of the stance. So think of it like when you have a picture and then you have an easel, you have this little thing in the back that kind of supports it, keeps it from falling over. That's what you should think of this one is. You know, you have to have it, but most of your weight is in the back. Okay, so that's the difference. When you are using empty stance, your motions are either horizontal or vertical, but not forward. Okay, when you're using a bow stance, you are going forward. That's why you have the 60% in the front. You're moving forward. Okay, so let's look at the first move, which we're going to do two things today. We're going to do prepare, and we're going to do opening. Okay, so prepare, you have your feet shoulders width apart. Your hands are by your sides. Think of the middle finger touching the seam of your pants. If you were wearing jeans, you would have a seam on the edge. Think of it touching the seam of your pants. When you do prepare, you should relax your knees. You should think of moving your head up. Your shoulders are down. Your back is rounded. Your tailbone is down. So what you're going to do is you're going to have your head up. You're going to relax your tailbone, and your knees are slightly bent. They're what we call Tai Chi straight, which is straight with a bend. Okay? So that essentially is the body shape that you would have in Zhang without the arms. Okay? If you added the arms, the body would still be the same. Zhang, you just add the arms. Okay? So, opening. When you open, I will show you facing you first, and then I'll show you sideways. When you open, what you're going to do is you're going to rotate your arms. And then you're going to come up to shoulder level. And then beginning with your upper arms, go down to your elbows and then to your hands, and think of pressing down almost to the bottom. I want you to notice when you do this, when you're here, you're rotating. Then you're coming up to shoulder level. And then you're pressing down. Do you see that when you're pressing down, the tips of your elbows are facing down?
Mhm.
See, when I don't want you to press with your elbows out. I want the pointy part of your elbows facing down as you come down. So one of the things that people don't think much about in terms of your arm movements in Tai Chi is you do a lot of rotation of your forearm. A lot of times when you see the hand turning, it's not the hand by itself. It's the forearm that turns the hand. Do you see what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So that's what's happening here. When I turn, it's my forearms that are turning. The hands do not turn independently. Okay. They come up to shoulder level. And then beginning with the shoulder, think about gradually pressing down. So that I end up, so I'm here, I turn, I come up to shoulder level, and then as I come down, I stop almost at the bottom. And this position will be repeated many, many times in the form. And one of the things that you should notice is you are almost to the bottom. Your hands look almost parallel to the floor. And you have this rounded shape, right? So you want to keep the rounded shape. Almost always in Tai Chi, your arm shapes, not only are your movements rounded, your arm shapes are rounded. The time when you have straight arms is at the moment of a strike. So think about when you wind up, it's a round winding up, but then when you strike, it's a pretty straight strike. So you're essentially transferring energy across the shortest distance at the moment of striking. But otherwise, you want to preserve the potential in a rounded shape. Okay? Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Any questions on that? Okay. So let's take a quick look at the footwork in terms of making the bow stance. Okay. If you are here and I want to make a left bow stance, what does left bow stance mean? Left bow stance means that the left foot is in front. Okay. So the way I do this is I transfer weight to the left so that it releases enough weight on the right that I can turn on my heel. Can you see? I can't turn on my heel if I'm equally weighted. I have to move a little weight off this so that it can turn toward the corner, right? Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to move all the weight to the right. And how do I do that? I essentially turn and move in the direction of this foot. Then, when all my weight is on the right, then I can release the left, right? Then I can step out and then flatten my foot, and moved 60% of the weight to the front. And I still have 40% in the back. Now, what's important here is that if I do it in this way, so you can see a different angle, if I turn, move weight, and then move forward and move 60% to the front, my knee does not pass my toe. Can you see that?
Mhm.
Okay. If my knee passed my toe, what happens is my body pitches forward and then I lose the grounding. I want to have my torso between my feet. Okay. And the reason I want that is that if I don't have my torso between my feet, it's easy for someone to push me over. You see, if I'm overextended one way or the other, it's easy for someone to push me over. So I always extend so far that I can come back. Okay. So using that principle, I'm committing this far, but I can always come back, right? Now, how do I know? You know what shoulder width apart is, right? You know how wide one line, two sides is, right? How do I know how far my stride is? In other words, how far forward do I step? How do I know? What determines that? Your back foot determines how far your right foot can step or your front foot can step. What does that mean? That means that you can step far if your back foot can bend low. So if my foot is if I'm fairly upright, I can only go this far. Why? Because I can only go as far as I can and still come back, right? I can still come back. If I am lower, then I can step farther because I can still come back, right? So if people think, oh, it looks so much better if I can make a long stride, you cannot make a long stride if you cannot bend your back foot. Okay, so it's the strength of your back leg that determines how far you can step. Does that make sense? Okay, you can't step. You can only step as far as your back leg allows you to. If you want to step farther, then you have to bend your back leg further. Okay. The other limitation is that your knee must line up with your foot. In other words, if I am doing a bow stance and I'm coming forward, my knee, and I bend my knee has to be in this direction. You're not allowed to have your knee collapse in. Okay. If you collapse the structure of your body, you will not have any strength and you will have knee problems. Okay. So don't do that. So, and what does that mean? If your knee lines up with your foot, front leg and back leg. So this one is not allowed to go in either. Okay. Both must line up. Okay. And in order for both to line up, what does that mean? That means that your quad has to be open, right? So in order for your quad to be open, you should gradually do hip widening exercises. So the exercise that Master Yang gives out is knee circles. So you can hold on to a chair or something and then make circles. Okay, just make circles, or hold on to your kitchen counter, or do it while you're brushing your teeth, whatever. But what you want to do is widen your quad. And that allows you much more flexibility. And it allows you to keep your structure, especially if you want to lower your stance. Okay, if you want to be lower, then your quad has to be more flexible in order for you to step out, right? Because otherwise your knees won't line up. So I want you to think a little bit about your structure as you move, because it's important for you to be able to move smoothly without injuring yourself. Okay, so line up and then make sure to separate empty and full. So when I'm here and I move my foot this way, I put all my weight on this foot before I step up, right? So you root before you step out, okay? And make sure that you know where your root is, because if you're unclear how you're standing, then it's easy for you to lose the ability to move. Okay. Think about when you move. When you walk, you move all your weight onto one leg before you can move the other leg, right? So that is separating empty and full, right? So be careful that you separate empty and full and have good alignment. Okay. So let's do some footwork practice. So let's say that we are shoulders width apart, and I move my weight to the left so that I can free up my right. Then I turn, move all the weight to the right so I can free up my left, and then heel, ball, toe, bend knee. So this leg pushes, this leg stops. Okay, so you have pushing and stopping, and 60% ends up in the front. Generally, when you do a bow stance, you are leaning forward. So if I'm here and I turn my right foot to the corner, I put all my weight on the right, and then heel, ball, toe, bend, knee. Can you see that there is a line between my heel and the base of my neck? And it's a slant forward. Okay. Generally speaking, when you're in a bow stance, you are leaning forward. So think about pushing something. When you push something, you lean forward, right? So that's the feeling you should get. So let's do prepare, opening, and just the footwork for a left bow stance. So we're here. Okay, prepare. You're going to think head up, tailbone down, hands by your side. Opening, rotate your arms and come up to shoulder level. Then press down almost to the bottom. Then we're just going to do the footwork here. We're going to shift left, turn right, all the weight on the right, step forward, heel, ball, toe, bend knee. Okay, let's try that again. Prepare. Head up, tailbone down, hands by your side, opening. Rotate your arms, come up to shoulder level, then press down almost to the bottom. Then we're doing the footwork for left ward off. Shift left, turn right, all the weight on the right, step, heel, ball, toe, bend knee. Okay? So I want you to make sure were your knees lined up. Did your left knee not go beyond your toes? And make sure your alignment is good. Okay? Question?
I have a question, Rita.
Yeah.
Okay. When you turn your right leg, right, you're facing the right side. When are you going to turn your head to the front? Is when you're ready to step up on your left foot? Is that it?
So what happens is when I turn here,
Right.
it's like a whole body turn.
Right.
Can
Correct.
you see that?
Yes.
And then when I put all my weight, I am
right.
going this way. But
Right.
when I step out, I look in the direction I'm stepping out.
I see. Okay. Then
Okay.
you go straight. You go straight.
And then I go straight.
Okay.
Right.
Got it. Yeah. Got it.
Okay.
Got it.
So generally speaking, well, it's hard to say here because you don't have any hands yet. But generally speaking, your gaze is determined by one of two things. Either the dominant hand or where your opponent is. Okay, so if you think of this as a martial art, you should look at where your opponent is. Or your dominant hand in the sense that if you're striking, you should be looking in the direction that you're striking in, right? Okay, so let's try this a couple more times, and then this will help us for the next move, which is left ward off, which is unfortunately the first major move of the form and one I consider to be one of the more difficult moves. But that's the way it ends up, right? So we're getting a head start. So feet shoulders width apart, head up, tailbone down, hands by your side, prepare. Opening, rotate your arms, come up to shoulder level, press down, almost to the bottom. And then the footwork for left ward off. Shift left, turn right. All the weight on the right. And then step forward, heel, ball, toe, bend knee. So this, you should feel pushing from the back toward the front and making sure that your knees are lined up properly. Okay? A couple more times and then we'll close class. How about that? Okay? So, shoulders width apart. Prepare, head up, tailbone down, hands by your side. Opening, rotate your arms. Come up to shoulder level. Press down, almost to the bottom. Footwork for left ward off. Shift left. Turn right. All the weight on the right. Heel, ball, toe, bend knee. Now you notice that when I do this, when I'm here, I am stepping exactly in front of where I used to be. Okay? I was here, I moved here, I put all my weight here, but I'm going exactly in front of where I was before. Because I am shoulders width apart, I can do that. If my feet are further apart than shoulders width apart, then I would come in to stabilize and then step out. So if I were here and I wanted to step out, like over there, I would come in first and then step out. Because it's so far away, because if it's wider than shoulders width apart, then I come in to stabilize before I step out. Okay? Does that make sense? If you do not feel stable, come in before you step out. Generally speaking, left ward off, we do not come in first because it's considered that your feet are pretty close together. Okay? So there's another rule of the road, right? Okay. One more time and then we'll close class. So, feet shoulders width apart. Prepare, head up, tailbone down, hands by your side. Opening. Rotate your arms. Come up to shoulder level. Press down almost to the bottom. And footwork for left ward off. Shift left. Turn right. All the weight on the right. And step forward, heel, ball, toe, bend knee when you're 60% in the front. Okay? Yes, Lorraine.
Can you do the prepare and open from 3 o'clock so that we can see how straight up and down you are? Because
Okay.
you kind of bend your knee a little.
Yes, I do bend my knee a little. So here, if I am at prepare, okay, my head is up. I bend my knee a little to tuck in so that I make this part straight. Okay. Then I rotate, I come up, and then I come down almost to the bottom. And my hands are parallel to the floor pretty much, right? So one of the things that opening does is it determines one of the two things for the rest of the form. It determines the pace of the form. you want to have the same speed for the whole form. Okay, so opening determines the speed at which you plan to do the form. When you do left ward off, that will determine the height at which you will do the form. Okay, so you have speed and you have height. Okay, and that is next week. Okay.
Rita, got a question. You're
Yeah.
not teaching part 2, right? Part two.
After I teach part 1, I plan to teach part 2. Yes.
Okay, so should I wait, right? Because remember Cheryl, on Monday that you're trying to substitute for her?
Monday,
Yeah.
Cheryl is teaching part 2. Except right now, I happen to be teaching it because Cheryl broke her foot.
Correct, I got it. Yeah.
But if it weren't for that, Cheryl would be teaching it.
Right, but I mean, it's good to like jump, like I'm stay here with part 1. So should I finish part 1 before I go to 2?
Well,
Because
it would be better for you to finish part 1 before you do part 2 for a couple of reasons. One, you are trying to learn this form as a replacement for the way you used to do it.
Correct.
So I think you would be more confused if you did part 1 and 2 at the same time.
Okay, good. I got it. Yeah. But then should I go to the senior form because I'm just observe. I'm not doing anything. So I
Okay. The senior form is actually quite different from the long form in a lot of the connections.
Oh,
okay. The moves, many of them are exactly the same.
So,
but the transitions are a little different because you're doing them in a different order. So when you do things in a different order, then the transitions get to be different.
So I can observe, right?
Yes, you can definitely, you can go to as many classes as you like.
No, I'm not. I just don't want to confuse myself, but I still think the senior firm, I can turn the video off, just observe everybody.
Yes, you can do that.
Okay. So I'm not going to the part 2 anymore. I just stick with the part 1 now. Okay. Sounds good. Because I have to get rid of my other forms first.
What do you think, Lorraine? How do you feel about doing part 1 and 2 at the same time? I think that's harder.
I like to do one at a time.
Okay.
Yeah, I know, but because like I think Lorraine didn't realize that. Like I used to take the Tai Chi class back in East Coast, so I have a certain way. I was telling Rita about that to do my form. Now I trying to correct the form, and it's very, very hard.
Yeah.
So, okay, so I just go slowly. I just stay with part 1, little by little.
Okay.
No problem. Okay, sounds good to me.
All right.
All right.
Okay. Well, I'll look forward to seeing you next week then.
Yeah, definitely. You will see. Yep.
And hopefully we'll see Marie too.
Yeah. Thank you, Rita. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I learned a lot from you. I really like that a lot. I do. I really like that a
Well,
lot.
I'm glad you do.
Okay, so see you next week.
See you next week.
Yeah,
Bye-bye.